I don't want to take that for granted. Yeah, exactly.
They thought they go out and tell people.
Incidentally,
All right. Good evening, everyone. Before I get into the formal committee meeting, I would like to say a very happy birthday to Alison. It's her birthday today, and this is called commitment. You can tell me later. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Wow. Hi, Robert.
It's very impressive.
Is it cold in Cornwall?
It's the best.
Settle down, everyone.
No, I haven't been to court.
Right, good evening and welcome to this meeting of Woodley Towns Council Strategy and Resources Committee being held on the 27th of January 2026. Woodley Town Council meetings are now recorded, with recordings streamed live and stored on the Town Council's YouTube channel. By virtue of attending the meeting, you consent to having your image and audio recorded for this purpose. If you do not wish for your image and audio to be recorded, then please do not stay for the meeting. For those in attendance, we're not expecting a fire drill tonight, so if you hear the fire alarm, please head to the nearest fire exit and congregate at the fire assembly point by the Oakwood Centre at the front of Woodford Park. Thank you. And do we have any apologies?
We have apologies from Councillor Rowland. I believe she's joined us virtually, but Beth, if that's you, you've just come up as a number. Could I just ask you to confirm if you're there?
It is me, yes.
Fab.
And I'm
Okay.
having problems with my camera.
Okay, we know you're there. Thank you.
Right. Moving on then. Declarations of interest. Any declarations of interest from members raising the business of this meeting? Nope. Minutes of the meeting held on 25th of November 2025. The minutes were provided in the full council agenda of 2nd of December. Can we vote to approve the minutes of the S&R committee held on the 25th of November 2025, and I will sign them by the chair as the chairman as a correct record. All those in favour, please show.
16th of December, yeah?
The 25th of November was.
Yeah, so 25th of November. Okay, all right. Then minutes of the extraordinary meeting held on the 16th of December 2025 to approve the minutes of the extraordinary strategy and resources committee held on the 16th of December 2025, that they be signed by the chairman as a correct record. All those in favour, please show. And can I put on record my thanks to all participants. It was a really very, very productive meeting and a short one as well. It's always good to have a short meeting. So item 5, actions and follow-ups. There are on appendix 5, page 22. Anything you want to highlight?
Yes, please, Chair. Just to run through 4 updates then. Under minute 67 regarding the IT risk assessment, so that has been sent out, and the overarching risk assessment is included in the strategic risk register, which comes later in this meeting. Minute 73 regarding the allotments borehole. I have added a question to that item just to ask whether the committee wishes to consider progressing with that, given the cost of that. We went away to get some costings for it to see what the feasibility would be. And that came back fairly expensive at £37,000, which is the only quote I've been able to get from 11 different companies, in fact, to try and get quotes for, which has proved more difficult than anticipated.
And is that an agenda item on here?
It's not a separate agenda item, but as it was in the follow-ups there, I've just requested some guidance on whether to continue with that rather than just sit on that list.
Briefly. Okay.
Could you tell us how much the water bill is for the allotments?
That's a good question.
It's a good question. That was the issue, that we wouldn't necessarily know that, and in order to calculate that, there's quite another piece of work that needs to be done to assess how much water it would be able to offset. It's not as simple as just digging a hole and pumping it into the main. So there's quite a piece of work to get it to that stage.
Mike,
Chair, I think we ought to have a report to our
Yes.
next session.
I was going to suggest that, take it away
Yeah.
and make a formal report. Sorry?
As long as the report isn't going to cost anything.
I'll put together a report as best I can without incurring any costs or things.
We all happy with that? Yep, good. Carry on.
Minute 41 regarding Weedle Park. There's a report later in the agenda on that, and just to note that the lease agreement is being finalised by Reading Borough Council with the current lease running till 2031. And the minute 16 regarding reporting of discounted hire rates. I have heard back from our internal auditor who's happy with hire detail being provided, and we could do that either as a confidential update to members, or we can anonymise it and put it in the public part of the agenda. That was reporting back of hirers who received discounted room hire rates. So we can do it either way, whichever way you would wish. Councillor Kennedy.
Which item is that? Sorry.
That's minute 16.
Oh, it's down the bottom. Okay, so you skipped over. Yep. Mike?
Sorry, Chairman, can we ask the town clerk whether the lease was favourable or was it the expensive version that we were trying to
Achieved
get
some
to?
reduction on the surveyor's fees and asked that the remainder of the cost in relation to legal fees be spread over the term of the lease, so making a very small difference to the monthly amount. So it was kind of negligible.
Well done, thank you.
Okay, carry on.
That was it, Chair.
You've done
Sorry, yes, so I'm actually, if you provide some advice as how you would like that information reported confidentially with the detail or anonymised in the public session, confidentially with the detail.
And I'll add on 84A, the theatre, split the theatre out of that of the Oakwood Centre. There is work currently being undertaken by Matt relating to the theatre work we did before. And that seems like if we do that going forward, that would be the ideal opportunity to split the two then. Okay, right. Thank you for that. Agenda item 6, to note the payments as set out in Appendix 6A. Any questions on that at all?
Just a clarification, on page 25, when they say personal and deposit refund, is that the stuff that we paid for the leisure centre? What are those amounts?
Those are damage deposits against room hire.
Right, got it, thank you.
Okay. We'll move on if that's okay. Sil, want to just talk us through what's come in, what's going out, and what's to come in on Sil? Darren, sorry. On the agenda item. Item 6. On the bed. Right on the bed.
Oh, sorry. Okay, yeah, so just latest update in SIL income. So we've got notified that we'll be receiving £11,000 in April, a further £47,000 due but not yet received, and then a significant sum of potential works, but that's subject to when the works will commence. So that's indicatively indicated £150,000, but as and when that will materialise will depend on the commencement of those works.
Can I clarify, is the 150 inclusive of the 47 and the 11?
No.
Right,
No.
okay.
Any other questions on that? That's to note. Item C, the CCLA PSDF funds update. Don't know if you want to say anything, Darren, on there.
No, not really much to say. I mean, the dividend interest is coming in at a fairly constant rate each month, so it's exactly on track as to what we expected previously.
So we're current. So there's a.
So we're currently holding about £2.5 million across the two accounts, and then the first account we're holding just under 1.4 million. That's where we're expecting to make the repayment of the large Oakwood loan at the end of this year, end of March this year, and 1.225 million.
And just confirm, then that means the Oakwood Centre has been paid off.
Yes, that's that loan finished. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions on that at all? No. Withdrawal. Item D, the withdrawal funds. Can you talk us through that?
Yes. So this is we're just having a look at our cash flow requirements over the coming year, and fundamentally, by the end of this year, we'll have about £1.1 million. That will be split between our general reserve and our earmark reserves. Okay, but most of that cash will be tied up in the CCLA as it currently stands. So in order to maintain our operational requirements of everyday spend, we'll need to draw down those funds, place them in our current accounts. We will be able to put some money back into our deposit accounts when Precept is paid in April and September, but the schedule on this page sets out that looks like we're going to need to draw down over this sort of 14-month period just over £400,000, £409,000. And are taking the judgment to keep an operational balance of about £100,000 at the end of each month. Now, this is obviously an indicative schedule of cash flow based on historic cash flows building in everything we know at this date. It may vary from that from time to time. And the reason for not drawing down a large sum up front and just holding it in is that we want to maximise the interest in the CCLA, so we can keep money in our current accounts to a minimum and back and forth each month. We will maximise the interest. Otherwise, we stand to lose some money there. So it's just really to seek approval to be able to draw down a sum of up to £409,000 between now and the end of March 27.
Any questions? No, makes a lot of sense. Thank you very much. We have to approve that. So
Yes.
all those in
Yes.
favour, please show. That's unanimous. Item 7, Oakwood Centre income update. Item A, bookings and room hire, page 30.
Yeah, so these are the charts on pages 30 and 31. You'll see that room hire income is 65,751 against a budget target of 80,000. We're anticipating year-end room hire to be 97,000, which is what we've got in the budget. It's tracking under the 104 that was in the original budget. Catering income under the contract is at 7,616 against the budget of 5,031.
Any questions? No? Okay. On that one. Item 8, risk management, page 32. There are some 3 recommendations. If the committee is minded, I'd like to take them all together. But do you have any questions on the risk management strategy, the 82? That's, yeah, has anybody read it?
Just say whoever's revised this in red, it's so much better than it originally was. So well done, whoever's done that.
Can I just mention something to note? In addition to the strategy, the one thing that had changed significantly is the risk register. And members will probably remember the previous rather unwieldy, about 20 pages on A3 that had, which kind of ventured into operational risk assessments quite a lot, and there's a lot of duplication. The purpose of this strategic risk register is to focus on those key strategic risks and provide more detail on fewer risks, which is what that subcommittee should really be looking at and reporting through to this committee, and we will continue to do it in that way and report those to S&R because it's clearer.
My only comment on that would be you've gone right down to 4. So 4 is not a significant risk, really. I mean, I know I think 8's fair, but there are a couple of 4s in here.
Yeah, that stayed in there mainly because of the potential risk without the controls, and that they were still a strategic risk. But yeah, that's.
But I think if they are if the controls, if you're worried about the controls, then they shouldn't be 4.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, because the mitigation's a worry, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah. And the other thing, the safeguarding one, in the safeguarding one, it says staff training, safeguarding training module in place and undertaken by relevant staff according to roles, responsibilities. My understanding is that everybody should have safeguarding as everybody's business. So is everybody doing a low level safeguarding and then some people are doing a higher level?
Yes, and it's one of the online modules which we purchased specifically for that. Some of it is quite in depth.
But everybody is doing something.
Yes, I'd have to check. There might be a couple of staff that are ancillary that aren't doing that.
I would highly recommend that everybody does it because you are working with members of the public. But other than that, thank you. It's much clearer than that huge spreadsheet.
Any other comments? You had, actually, I see you've got 2 members of the risk.
3.
Oh, sorry,
There
3.
you go.
You've got the 3 members, so they've heard your comments.
It's much better.
Kevin's heard the potential changes, so hopefully the risk subcommittee will go off and discuss and incorporate if necessary.
certainly a lot easier to do.
So we need to vote then on 1, 2 and 3. All those in favour, please show. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's unanimous. Capital projects, page 83.
Thank you, Chair. The report there shows the status of current and proposed capital projects. There's one project there for proposed allocation of funding, which, as mentioned, was the replacement of play equipment at Weevil Park. And this follows a request from the Leisure Services Committee of 11th of November that funding of £40,000 be allocated for this project based on indicative designs that were considered by the committee at that meeting. It's proposed in the report that those funds be allocated from the council's current community infrastructure levy earmarked reserve, which has a balance of 72,723. And as mentioned previously, the new lease has been requested and is currently being produced.
Any questions on that? Okay.
How long is the lease, Kevin?
The current one runs until 2031 and the request was for another 30-year lease.
All right, so it won't be allocated until we've got the 30-year lease. Is that right?
We've got a period of time with some preparation work to do in terms of project setup and some consultation and things like that, by which time I'm hoping we have the new lease in place.
All right, thank you.
Alison?
So after a recent health and safety inspection, our fire doors were found to be inadequate, is that correct? Can I ask how urgently we should be replacing them?
Quite a lot of work has been carried out already, and it was largely to do with the seals around the doors. So the ones in this building have all been replaced, and we're working through Woodford Park Leisure Centre. There are a couple of replacements still required, but yeah, that work is well underway and nearing completion.
So the work on establishing the cost is underway?
No, a lot of the actual work on the doors. There are some still to be replaced, which will be a slightly larger piece of work.
Okay, because it's described as a potential future project. That's as if we haven't taken action, having had failure.
Yeah, at that point we hadn't established how much we could do in house was the issues. That probably needs updating.
Right, okay.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Thank you.
Okay. Desmond?
It's a good question. Is it possible to get a copy of the lease as it is at the moment? When you're in negotiation now, maybe obviously what you've done so far. Is there any input that councillors could have that you could maybe input into negotiation?
The terms are very, very much the same. What I do have at the moment is I have the old lease and I have the heads of terms for the new lease, but I can circulate that absolutely to all members.
Can I just check these costs on page 84, the to be confirmed 3.520, are those all projects that we've agreed to do? Or are those projects that are up for discussion?
No, so
Not being formally approved.
no, they've not yet been approved.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? No?
So when will we be formally approving fire door replacements. This seems an essential thing to me.
That needs updating. I need to bring you a more up-to-date report on that. As I said, a lot of that work has been done, and I just need to report back to you what hasn't, because that project may not be a significant capital project if we've managed to do most of it through existing resources. So that needs updating.
So before we go to the vote, the recommendations says approve the capital project funding allocations, plural. Does that mean you're asking for those allocated, the ones in the potential future? Because otherwise there's only one.
No,
which is Weevil.
no, it's just the Weevil Park one, which is
Okay. So the S shouldn't be there.
no.
Okay, can we make sure we amend that so it's crystal clear? Right. I'll go to the vote then. Can I take the two together? All those in favour, please show. Thank you very much. That's unanimous. Deposits, page 90.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So this is a review of our deposit monies that we have collected for 4 of our sites where we hire rooms, so Oakwood, Coronation, Chapel, and the Leisure Centre, and also allotment deposits. Having looked at the position in the accounts, it's quite clear that there is a lack of reliable data and historically an ineffective process to manage the collection and refund of deposits. So having a bit of a deeper dive into that information, there's a variation in terms of the age of the data that we hold. So some dates back to 2001-2, some dates back to 2009-10. And also, even within that data, there's a brought forward balance on some of those deposits. So I don't know what that balance is made up of. So it's very, very difficult, probably almost impossible to ascertain the ownership of those funds. So the proposal here is to move as at the end of March 24, there's £33,000 that we've collected in deposits. Okay, and the reason I've taken that year is it's 2 years prior, and it's based on evidence in terms of deposit refund requests. It's very unlikely that through just natural requests that a request for a refund prior to that date will arise. Okay, so the proposal was to move £30,000 of the 33 into a general reserve and retain the balance of just under £3,500 in an earmark reserve. 1, to deal with any late claims that may arise, and 2, also to maybe mitigate any bad debts that are arising, if there's any bad debts that come through that channel. Now, that doesn't preclude anyone from claiming those funds back prior to that date if they should, and we'd have to investigate at the time, and we'd use that fund to refund them. If that fund became exhausted, then we would have to fund it from the general reserve. But as it stands, that money's been in there for some time. It's not moved. It's very unlikely that there will be a claim made against it. Now,
would we not limit it? Would we not put a time limit on it? Otherwise, you could get significantly historic claims.
Well, there is a statute of limitations on financial, which would be 6 years. I mean, a lot of this does date back a lot longer than 6 years.
Okay.
Say some of the records go back to 2001-2, but it's almost impossible to trace if a transaction, a deposit received in that year has been refunded in any subsequent year.
But people would have to bring you evidence of,
Yes, they would,
of what
yes,
year, and if it was greater than 6 years, then
Well, we'd have to take a view on that. I mean, we're not liable to repay after 6 years. But
I think we should take a view on it.
I agree.
yes, well, we would do it if there was a claim in that period. So what says if we've moved the money into the general reserve, it doesn't preclude anyone from claiming back
Within the last 6 years.
But yes, or beyond. If something comes, we'd have to look into it.
Beth? You're on, Beth.
Hello?
You got your hand up, Beth?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Yes, I just wondered if you could explain a little more about how this has arisen. Has it been poor accounting or poor recording of money?
Yeah, essentially, it's a lack of effective record keeping. Historically, seems a bit. It's all on spreadsheets, which doesn't mean it's a bad thing. Doesn't mean you can't do something on a spreadsheet, but it hasn't really been effectively reconciled to the accounts. As I said, there's an opening balance that we can't determine what that's made up of, and at the last point there was what appears to be a finalised closing balance. They don't quite tally with what's in the account. So from both ends, there's uncertainty. I mean, obviously, it's not an ideal position to be in, and we don't want to continue to be in this position. So we are fundamentally reviewing how we would do it in the future to have a much more robust process. One of those is to explore if the new booking system we're going to implement in for this building will have such a module to do that. If it does, then I would expect that to be a lot more robust than a spreadsheet. But if it doesn't, the piece of work that I've started is to examine in depth the deposits we've collected over the last 2 years to try and establish a robust and fully reconciled baseline. So as we move forward, we're in control of everything we've collected in the last 2 years and everything moving forward, on the basis that we draw a line on the stuff prior to that, as already indicated.
Had the auditors picked it up?
Excuse me, sorry?
Had the auditors picked
it up?
No, it's not been identified. It's not something they particularly look at in terms of the balance
Just
sheet.
what we would do where we find anything like that, where there's a bit of an anomaly and we've then fixed it, we highlight that to the auditor as well, just as a matter of
full
course, so that
transparency.
there's transparency on how we've dealt with something.
And we've only just picked this up very recently.
It's only been in the last few weeks. I've been doing a bit of dive into the numbers just to ascertain the position before bringing it here.
We can
Lovely,
thank Mike, actually. Mike Kennedy raised it, I believe, with Darren, using his prior knowledge of being a town clerk, etc. So he was part instigator in this, which is absolutely brilliant.
Thank you. Well done, Mike.
I just want to ask about, it says they must be actively claimed back for the hire. Now, I've booked rooms with other towns and parish councils in Berkshire, and yes, I've had to give a deposit against damages, but I've been asked to supply my bank details at the same time as the bookings so that they could return the money.
Absolutely,
and which seems a very simple way to do it, but we never did that.
That's the change we've made. We had it the other way round for a very long period of time, whereby the bank details were taken after the booking when someone had been advised they needed to make that claim to have the deposit returned. So consequently, some people claimed it back and some didn't, which is how that is built up over time. So the change
Like
we've made.
wishful thinking that if we keep quiet, they won't get in touch.
Although that wasn't the intention, that's the reality of what's happened. So changing that, so the onus is on us to make sure that happens at the point of booking.
So
We'll have to see if the local press picks this up and we leads to a flood of claims.
The point would be to automate the refunds. If we collect the bank details, we would automatically, say 2 weeks after the booking's finished, subject to any damages, we then automatically refund.
Then I'd like to draw this to a close.
Thank you, Chairman. I just record my thanks to the Finance Manager for his very detailed response to the 6 questions that I sent to him, and encourage other councillors, if they've got questions about the report, try to put the questions in writing ahead of the meeting, because it gives the officers the opportunity to research the answers. And they're not hit cold on the night. So thank you, Darren. I didn't ask this question, but because I think it needs a committee view on it. The recommendation that £30,000 is transferred to general reserves, whilst I support that in principle, I think this is a windfall. This is money that we hadn't expected. And I would rather like to allocate that money either to the Leisure Committee, where the budget is being cut, towards grants, where we've had to cut back on our expenditure, or failing that, just allocate it to offset council tax increases, because it's for the benefit of all our residents, not just some.
While you're thinking about that, I'll ask Kester to give his point.
Mine's very quick, this is question Darren. With all the money that's been left behind and will win for, would there be a point to give a public notice to people to make a claim before a certain time, so you're not mitigate circumstances in a way, not just hide away when you've got, you're giving people a chance to actually apply for it. A big public notice.
That's a really bad idea, Kester. You'll get everybody, well, you'll get everybody and his dog trying to claim money.
The work associated with that.
Yes, if you want to take all the queries, Kester, and investigate them, then fine, but you'll get a deluge of claims.
Right, can I come back to Mike's question? It's an intriguing one. Yeah. Because also, by the way, that isn't in here is it 70 or 80,000 now, the VAT? That sort of ballpark figure, isn't it? The VAT refund?
Yeah. Which
isn't in the budget because it's in an earmark reserve and just sitting there, and that's not in the budget papers, all the earmark reserves. And I've talked to Darren, and that's going to be addressed for the future. In the cover sheet of the documentation, it does income, expenditure, precept, general reserves, but it doesn't tell you how much we've got sitting in earmark reserves. So here you're talking about creating another one, I guess, a new earmark reserve to cover debts.
Just that, yeah, just a balance of 3,500 broadly.
And
yeah.
that 4.1k that's since gone,
Well,
will the principal be that will then go back into there as well? What you
no,
doing with that for?
the 4.1 is a moving target. So typically what happens, someone makes a booking, they put a deposit down. So that would include deposits of bookings that haven't actually been fulfilled yet.
Fine,
So it's
Okay.
always going to be.
But if something, if one of those, part of that 4.1k, maybe all of it, gets past the six years, what are you going to do with it?
Well, we would hope that the idea is to identify every
Yeah,
single
but if you
deposit.
don't, I'd like to cover.
Well,
all
we
eventualities.
need to review it again
Okay,
with a similar approach, but the expectation would be that will be.
So coming back to the
ironed out.
30,000, bearing in mind we've got this 80,000 as well, it's sitting there, which is also a windfall in many respects. Personally, but I don't like putting council tax up. I'm minded to agree with Mike, but I'm just one person. What?
Could I just make a comment, Chair? The way the figures are set out in the budget papers for this meeting includes the release of those funds into the general reserve. Effectively, what that does within the context of the whole budget is changes that budget picture, which does then inform whatever the decision might be about precept in terms of balancing the budget. So arguably that it does have that effect in terms of giving you the opportunity to make a different precept decision by releasing it to the general reserve. Context.
So just to be clear, on the December the 16th meeting, we had 4 options, was it?
Yeah.
There were 4 options. We chose option 3, and the reserve level in option 3, we know it didn't include, because the question was asked, the VAT refund, okay? Did it, what you're saying now, just for clarity, that it did include this 30,000, and I don't think, Mike, correct me if wrong, when you started asking your question, did you do it before December the 16th? No. So how could that 30, I'm just trying to work out whether that 30, you say that 30,000, was it in option 3 when it had the reserve level? I can't remember what the reserve level is.
Right, sorry, at the last meeting.
Because there's lots of money floating around here, I'm concerned.
I'm not sure. It's definitely included in this one because that's how we.
I'm certain it was. I don't have those papers in front of me.
I think it was in the last one. I'd have to check that.
We just need to leave it where it is and work out the budget.
I mean, the budget picture you've got here includes that as being released. So obviously, if you didn't do that and you went to an earmarked reserve, it would change that balance by that amount. So we can calculate that and consider that.
Yeah.
I'm just cross-checking. We've got the right to believe you, but it's inclusive. It's the, just bear with me, ladies and gentlemen. The December the 16th meeting. minutes.
You won't be able to see it anyway, because it isn't split out.
No, but if the number here of general reserves is the same number as what it said in option 3, then that's consistent.
Plus 70.
Well, the 70 is another earmark reserve, which we'll talk about later.
Oh, so it's earmarked, it's not general.
No.
The VAT refund money was already in an earmark reserve.
Yeah.
So that hasn't changed.
I've got it.
Page 5, that's what I'm looking for. Oh, due diligence, the resident can complain about it. Oh, no, it's not here. Don't worry, it's not here. I thought it might be in a minute.
Where it shows on the budget papers for that you're presented with here is under central costs, other income, you'll see a budget line there with a note next to it. That amount, excuse me, page 7 of the budget. So, second line of under 101 central costs.
Other income.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the 30K.
Yeah. Okay. So we have that,
Yeah, it's in there.
right? So it's already budgeted for, Mike, I'm sorry.
I withdraw my proposal, thank you.
Oh, I thought we'd help them. Sorry, Jude.
Yeah, and it's not a question, it's really, you were mentioned earlier about altering how we present the earmark reserve. In the meantime, I'd just like to refer everybody to the new councillor hub. There's an excellent chunk in there on the guides to financial reserves that identifies all the different earmark reserves, or biscuit tins, as I like to think, with all the kind of background to them, what's gone in and out, and any restrictions around what you can spend that money on. So the stuff that's only capital, really, really helpful.
Yes, that was brought to my attention. My concern was it should be in, this is a budget,
Yeah, absolutely.
and that should be here as well. Okay, so the other, I think we're ready to move to vote though. I think the mood music here, that we need to add another bullet to do with this 6-year limit, that we shouldn't make it discretionary at all. I don't know what words you want to use, but any deposit held after 6 months, as
It's a
per
6-year limit of statute,
the
isn't
Local
it?
Act 2011.
Gone.
We can't do anything about that. It's statutory. We
Yeah.
can't amend it, vary it. It's got to be, that is it.
I think that's the mood music.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
you can add that as a line to that.
Please.
in the resolution.
It actually also makes it easier for you. It's one less job
Yes.
trying, because if it's 7 or 8 years, the amount of digging and research you've got to do, you haven't got the time.
No.
So in that case, with the addition of that bullet, if that's okay with the committee, can I take all these points in the same, all those in favour, please show. Thank you, that's unanimous. Right, where are we? So we now down to charges, 2026, 27, page 90. Sorry, the separate sheet, isn't it? Proposed charges, appendix. It's a small one.
Chairman, can I interrupt before you go on? It
Yes.
wasn't unanimous, I didn't vote.
Okay. Abstaining? You can't vote anyway because you're not present.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
Sorry, Beth, because you're not present, the law says you can't vote.
No, I just wanted people to know.
Okay. We can reflect that. What do you want people to know? Against or abstain?
Can't be minutes.
Abstain.
Can't be minuted.
No.
It won't be minutes.
No.
Okay.
It's fine.
People can, is this on YouTube?
Yes.
Yes.
People will see it through YouTube. Sorry, Beth.
Sorry?
Right. Who's next on?
If I can take that. So the charges, appendix A, you see is split between Oakwood Centre charges and the recommendations from the Leisure Services Committee for the community halls, Memorial Ground, etc., and Woodford Park Leisure Centre. Oakwood Centre first. The charging structure here has been amended for simplicity with the business and non-Woodley rates being amalgamated into a standard rate, with the Woodley resident rate and community rate then set as discounted rates from that standard rate, which is what we've got with the halls. Essentially, we have very few people or organisations rather on the business rate, because they can book on the non-Woodley rate, and they're very similar rates. It's just confusing, and there's not much sense to it. So we've amalgamated those. That has meant that some of the rates aren't quite matching in terms of percentages. Likewise, we've amalgamated some of the room hire rates so that they are simpler. And that applies to, for example, these meeting rooms. You know, the Barder room is slightly bigger, but actually we don't need to charge a different rate for those. They're small meeting rooms. People book a small meeting room. We can treat those in the same way. It's just much simpler. So that's been amalgamated as well. What you will see there is the target increase, which was discussed at the last S&R meeting, of an RPI increase at 4.3% plus an amount of 5%, which is what was recommended through Leisure Services also. So there's some consistency there in approach. In terms of the leisure charges, you'll see under the community halls, those charges are set out also on that basis of 4.3% RPI plus an amount of 5%. And in the normal way, the Woodford Park Leisure Centre charges are calculated differently, where the Leisure Services Manager takes into account competition across every budget line there, and makes a judgment accordingly based on those activities. And there is also a proposal in there for increase in the gym charge, and the Leisure Services Manager requested that doesn't kick in until September, in order that the it's twofold, but both are centred around the new system. One, it would cause quite a lot of difficulty in implementing the new system and the new direct debit mandates to coincide with a change in rate, but also he'd like to be able to offer or show the benefits of the new system, the booking system, when increasing the rate for members, so they can actually see what they're getting for that additional cost. So I don't know if there's any questions.
Can I just ask a question about income?
Yeah.
So if these were applied based on average income for the last couple of years, how much of an increase in income is it? Is it worth doing, is what I'm asking?
Yeah, I mean, it's reflected in the budget figures in terms of the income across each budget line. We think there's scope to increase them in terms of comparison rates elsewhere, and we are doing some work on that. We are also doing some work around packages and some different ways of selling it to make it easier for here particularly.
Because some of these still seem quite cheap.
They are competitive.
Very
Juliet.
competitive, very competitive.
And that's balanced. You know,
That's fine.
those increases are still
some amount.
yeah, and that rate as discussed at the last committee meeting is a good step above the RPI rate, which we might normally do.
Which is why we were happy to do it.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Good.
Yeah, a couple of points from me. We don't have any rates for the theatre here. Are they done on an ad hoc basis?
They are in the open centre charges, Chair.
I couldn't find them.
Page 2.
Okay, thank you. Oh, there they are. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Right. The amalgamation of the standard business and non-Woodley, which as a principle I think is a good one. But interestingly enough, the business rates are all coming down, presumably, as you said, most of the business is non-Woodley residents. What's your gut feel? Is it 20/80? Is it 80/20?
It's less than that, I would say, for the business rate. They're few and far between, and the nature of those bookings they are ad hoc and short bookings.
Okay,
They've
fine.
been billed in the last 3 or 4 years for that, so we didn't think.
Any other questions? Otherwise, we've got those. So this is A and D, isn't it? Yeah. So are members okay to take the two together?
Yeah.
All those in agreement, please show.
Agreed.
That's unanimous, thank you. Lovely. Page 92, revised estimates, SR 426, page 92, and the appendix. So
So the revised estimates, is the report on page 92 and the figures in the appendix. This is the expected position at the end of this financial year, and the estimates have been reviewed line by line by the relevant service managers across each budget code. They do reflect actual income expenditure today and forecast to the end of the financial year. Just some key points there, I think, in terms of income across S&R activities. Income is looking to be around £57,000 higher than budgeted. That does include an amount of just over £30,000, which is added as income, which relates to the release of deposits, which we were discussed earlier on. And in expenditure, we're looking at expenditure to be just over £22,000 higher than budgeted, but that also includes an amount of just over £42,000 relating to the memorial ground, which members recall was reported previously, which was also sat on the balance sheet from previous years. Long and short of that is a net expenditure of around just under £35,000 lower than originally budgeted. If there's any questions there on this year. Councillor Swaddington.
Alison, please.
Would this be an appropriate place to ask about the public toilet, which is going to cost us £10,297?
Can we take that later?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's certainly on my agenda.
Yeah.
So any other questions at all on here? So the revised budget, just looking on the summary page, where actually the net expenditure is more than we budgeted for. Even though you said the income's higher and the expenditure's down.
Yes.
Okay, just seeing if there.
So you've got the original budget estimate 778.
Okay. And it looks, just on that summary sheet, it looks like the culprit is earmark reserve movements, because the rest are there or thereabouts or slightly lower, whereas that one is 50k higher.
Yeah, and as I said, you've got that movement relating to the memorial ground in there as well.
But it means we've got it. It's not as if it's gone now, spent. Right. Okay. That was my. Any other questions, comments? No. So we've got the two recommendations, note and the approved. All those in favour, please show. That's unanimous. Thank you very much. Now the funding.
So the budget estimates for 26-27, which is the report on page 93. I will try and just condense some of that if I can. In terms of income, we're looking at around £89,000 decrease from the current financial year, and that's due to a number of things, partly the release of deposits, again, that we discussed earlier on, anticipated SIL income, and also some reduced interest from CCLA funds that are currently in the CCLA as we pay off the loan. In terms of expenditure, we're looking at around £96,000 lower than in the revised estimates for this year, and those changes reflect those loan payments once they've happened, and also reduced interest income on held funds. Net expenditure around £8,000 lower, but so fairly similar to the 25-26 budget estimates. There are recommendations from the Planning and Community Committee and Leisure Services Committee in terms of their budget allocations, and those have been included in these figures as is. So that was planning community around the annual grants, and the leisure services recommendation, which also includes the amount relating to youth services. So just for reference, those are included in the budget as it's set out at the moment.
40k and
Yes.
32,500.
Yeah, so just for a bit of context there, the Planning and Community Committee had grant applications in the amount of £56,600 and reduced that down to 32,500 at that meeting to meet a target that the SNR had agreed that we look at to get it down towards 30,000. And the Leisure Services Committee was very keen to request that this committee considered allocating the 40,000 based on the specific youth services that it doesn't have that bit of work on to procure. So.
Okay, so we'll just pause and concentrate on this youth 40,000, which is a significant increase.
And can you just lay out what that actually covers at the moment?
The 40,000.
Yeah, it was a number of very specific activities, and I can find it and reel them off for you, but I'm not sure how helpful.
These are things like the youth club.
Yeah, but there's other things in it. So I was reading about the disruption and which is highly costly per individual.
Yes.
And the youth club is actually as well, because
It's actually quite expensive.
the issue, the general issue, while you're finding it, is what's been put in place for youth services is in its early infancy. And we don't know yet, the officers are beginning to get dribs and drabs of data, but we don't know whether we're getting value for money. We don't know whether we're actually achieving what we're trying to achieve. I'm not quite sure whether we actually even know what we're trying to achieve. To be fair, it's one of those moving feasts that at least for 10 years have moved around and nobody really knows. Yeah, let's do youth, but what does that actually mean? So they have asked for this increase from 30 to 40k.
I can give you the breakdown of that if that's helpful. So this is split between 4 different providers. One being the Friday evening youth club. That amount is 9,450. In addition to that, through the same provider is leadership training, which was 5,280. Through a second provider was the diversion and disruption project, which you just mentioned, which was 11,310. Provider C was Rising Futures, which was after school coaching sessions, volunteer days and employer visits, which is 8,964. And the last one was school holiday activities through the HAF programme through Woking Borough Council, which is £5,000. Now the number of there's different numbers of sessions there and numbers of young people involved in those sessions, but that's what made up the.
Can you just tell me what Rising Futures is again?
Yes, they operate a number of they're quite specific and activities from referrals. And what we were looking at there was it was a range of activities up to 24 young people per session, and we were looking at 3 sessions. So it was targeted activities for that number of.
Referred by whom? Individuals. For what?
Sorry.
Referred by whom?
I haven't got that handy at the moment.
Are they individuals from low deprivation or high deprivation areas, or are they?
The only problem is.
They all come from a number, sorry, I don't have the,
I don't know whether
the
you
detail of all.
saw the reports, sorry, I'm not supposed to do
Yeah.
I
this.
saw all of them,
The
but I couldn't
reports
see that one.
That came round.
Yes.
So are you talking about the disrupting?
No, I'm talking, no, I got the disrupting one, I read that, that was 4 or 5 kids rocked up to that one. This one, I'm talking about Rising Futures,
And you mentioned working.
which is
environment.
9K.
That's half.
And that's the half,
Oh, sorry,
program. Yeah.
Okay, so I understand the youth club, I understand the diversion one, I understand the school holiday one, the leadership one. What's that? Leadership for youths to be able to engage with
Yes.
other.
Yeah, youngsters to actually be trained to lead
Okay.
in the right
Okay,
way.
and numbers associated with that?
Sorry, I'm flitting between multiple documents. In terms of the leadership
Yeah.
training course, 15 across 5 sessions.
Okay, 15 in total.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I understand the capacity for all of these. I'd like to know the reality. So I read the diversion one, and the reality was 5 children for 11K. I don't, and 15 for leadership, great. Did we get 15? Youth club is up to 28. Sorry, they've had 28 unique individuals, but generally there's 4 or 5 per session. And the Rising Futures, I don't understand what the capacity is or what it is now. So I think we probably need to understand a little bit more, because for me, this was my money from my business I was investing in this. Some of these don't really make sense,
Yeah.
and some of them are brilliant.
Can I answer 1 or 2 questions? In my position as mayor, I went to the first half day, which was, I think, was very, very successful.
What's the half one?
The
out of
half
these?
is the one providing
That last one for 5K.
games and what have you
Just the youth
for,
club?
no, not the youth club, for the half term.
So the
because
half,
it
the
is
holiday
last
one,
one,
this one,
actually,
okay,
yeah.
yeah. You know,
Who runs that?
I'll do that.
Half.
Yeah, but who will have? Because
Working on
Kevin mentioned working in borough, and
It is
let's
working.
get, it's working in borough runs it.
I'm trying to think what it
It's the
actually
holidays, activities and field.
Holiday activity.
Yeah, that's fine.
and that's what
I've
we're-
not got a problem with that.
It was very, very successful, the first one. There were a lot of people there, a lot of children taking part in various events and games.
How
I
many
did-
were, sorry to interrupt you.
How many were there?
No, how many, if it's run by Wokingham Borough, it will be open to children of all of Wokingham Borough. So how many Woodley residents or
I'm sure we're
children?
not paying for it all though, I'm sure.
No, but if there's only 2 or 3, it's that, the dynamic here is right across all 4 activities is we need more information. We need to come from it, not just let's do it, to saying, is it having the impact? Are there enough people there? What do we, like take the youth club, the average is 4 or 5 or whatever, what do we have to do to make it more?
Leisure services have looked at this, because they're
Yeah.
the ones with the knowledge.
So we have the chairman of leisure services.
Yeah, I mean, we've looked at this and, in terms of participation, it is very much early days yet. We really haven't, we've only just started running these things. So and in order to build up head of steam and a value for money approach, we're still in the pilot basically. So it's difficult to make a determination based just on purely value for money. Is it the right political thing to do? This council has decided that we want to do it, and from a political point of view, we should do it. We, as a leisure services team, would like to make a good go of it, and and wrap it up in a good way over the next year, which is why we're asking for the extra money. I do understand, we understand as a leisure services committee that there are considerable pressures for the next financial year. So, which is why we made the recommendation about the public toilets, because clearly, whilst that's a political thing, value for money is very questionable. So there might be other alternatives to that. And of course, this S&R committee takes a more overall holistic approach to that. But certainly from these particular things, they're all very successful youth services provisions that we're tapping into, but it is early days in order to ramp them up. I mean, it could be, for example, in 1 or 2 years' time, some of these services we might drop because they clearly aren't getting traction in Woodley. There might be other things that we would like to bring on. We will have to plan and budget for that. But it is.
I do have a proposal.
Al, I'm open
which
to
I
all
hope
sorts of decisions. Yeah.
in a minute, which I'll put on the table, and I've discussed this with Darren as well, to try and get a midway. Because you're already getting 30.
Yes.
Which is 30k more than a lot of other areas the business is getting, all right? You want 40. Quite rightly, you say it hasn't increased by inflation for a while. So what I've discussed in this proposal, and you can throw it out the window, I don't care, is that we don't get the 40, but we increase it by 10%, which is double the rate of current inflation, so about 33,000. And in order to fund it, it comes off the annual grants, and we've got a potential schedule. So for instance, the big hitters for annual grants are like Redibus and Keep Mobile. So where we define the 3,000 is take 1,000 off Keep Mobile, and they're still getting like 8,000 or whatever the number. It's a big number, bigger than any else. 1,000 off Redibus, so those two contribute 2 of the 3, and you take, I think we worked it out, £125 of all the remaining annual grant people. That's very small, and that then would provide the extra money. It's not what you want, but it's a move in the right direction.
I think, from my perspective, I mean, obviously, I can speak for the Leisure Services Committee, though I haven't spoken to them about that. But I think we would welcome a 10% increase to our budget if our full 40,000 couldn't be provided. I think politically, taking money from grants, which are already, depending on your point of view, fairly generous, to fund something that is a real political aspiration for this council is the right thing to do. And so I would welcome that proposal.
I'm concentrating on these people first.
I think that we should back the leisure services councillors, and politically it's what we want to do. This council hasn't provided a youth service for a number of years, and leisure colleagues have looked at this. We kind of thought, well, 40,000, it's very early days. We need to back it as much as possible and then assess over time with more data, more information, whether it's good value for money, whether it's effective or not. And over a period of time, we can then decide, well, if it's not effective and take up is low, we can then say, well, we won't spend.
We could try a different approach.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing here. The way we're doing leisure services now is quite different to what we did before when we just had one provider, Jack, and we just gave them the 30,000 a year. So, we're doing a slightly different thing. We're running it through different channels, and I'm sure we will have some good successes there, but we will have, I've no doubt, some that don't gain traction we would have liked.
So I've got a couple of points. So I would be more than happy to lose most of those annual grants because people are not depending on those. Some of the big ones, I get that they depend on it, but 300 quid to go abroad and do a gym thing, people can lose. They're not dependent on that. And the other thing is, having read the reports, I don't disagree with you at all, but please tell me we've got decent KPIs for these people, because that report was, whilst it was lovely and very societal, I don't need to know that they
provide
engage with this, that, and the other. I want to know, I want to understand the impact.
Yeah, I think each of those agreements that we have with each of these providers already is part of that agreement provide detailed SLA information.
Okay.
It's just that we haven't got enough of it yet
No,
to
but-
really give us, you know.
There's a bit more than that, isn't there?
Yes.
So saying how many people rocked up and how many unique people and all the rest of it, I get that. But I think we should be designing a few serious KPIs around what it is what is the impact we're trying to achieve. And I'm sure you've discussed that ad nauseum. You know, what are we trying to do for the youth in Woodley? What is the impacts we want to see? Is that more autonomy? Is that less crime? I don't know what it is, whatever it is you've discussed. And then we measure it against those, because otherwise we're never going to be measuring anything that's tangible. We're going to be counting things, and I don't like counting things.
No, I'll take your point actually, because, you know, a great deal of work was done in the preparation of the strategy. And actually, whilst we have those service levels, as you've rightly said, linking them back to that strategy and the success of that strategy is actually something that we do need to do.
It is.
And we need to bring that back to Leisure Services when we talk about it, because if we need to consider linking it back to some of those strategic deliverables, rather than just having a service level agreement to say how many bodies are on the pitch, how many were off the pitch, and so forth, then we need to do that. So I'll take that back to Leisure Services for our next meeting, to make sure that it is linked to strategy, because I think it's really important, because if we don't link it to strategy, then what have we achieved? Nothing. So, and the service level is only as good as that.
Okay.
Well, the reason I've been, as you know, I've been involved with you for a long time, and the £30,000 has actually been the same for quite a few years. We decided to try and allocate so much for each person or each group that were actually saying that they could do something. Now, I think you're right. The HAF did do a report, a full report. There were, I think, 6 children from Woodley, 6 or 7. One didn't turn up at all in any, I watched all the way through the reports. So I think we have to tighten up on seeing how many from Woodley are doing it. The people that turned up, it seems to be very successful, because these youngsters are troubled youngsters. Most of them will cause trouble to other people if they're not occupied in some way. And I think that's one of the things that we're trying to achieve, that we don't have these.
Each of these provisions is aimed at the most vulnerable young adults that we have within the community. So it's, in some respects, you could say, well, actually, because the numbers are low, that's great, because actually we don't have hordes of these people in Woodley. But at the same time, we'd still need to provide a provision to, and Jack was very good at that, because they kept that noise very low, because there was an activity going on across the Woodley area. But of course, with not having them for the last, I don't know, 3 years now, you know, that noise has crept up, because there's been no one out there doing the do actually on the ground. So we are hoping as a Leisure Services Committee that these new initiatives will start to tackle that again. So,
and that's why we were so keen on the leadership group, because we've got leaders that go the wrong way. We all know that. A lot of the youngsters are leaders, but they're leaders in the wrong direction. And
can I summarise?
Yes,
right?
Please do, Keith.
In a minute. This committee has priority.
Yeah, I get that.
No. Okay, first I'd like to remind everyone, that this is a provision that we are not obliged to do. It's meant to be provided by Wokingham Borough Council. We are the only council in the whole of the borough that actually do this. I think all credit to us. But we cannot duplicate what Wokingham Borough. We never can. We haven't got the resources. We haven't got the money. So what I would like for me to take away to the Leisure Services Committee, I don't want to see the SLA, because that's going to be pages and pages. What I want to see is, what are you trying to achieve? What is the youth club trying to achieve? What is the learning trying to achieve? What did you target? You know, if they say we're trying to hit 200 people, then we know
What are your objectives linked to the strategy?
Absolutely. All right.
That's
What-
embedded in the strategic document, but we can bring that out in a summary, that's not a problem.
But I want to see no more than a page, not on each, a page on those at that very high level that we can work
To
on.
make it
I
very
also want to
visible.
know is, what is your schedule to review what's going on for each of those 4 organisations? Because if you don't do it, you'll never correct it. If you wait for 9 months, it's too late. You need to probably, my recommendation is at least 6 months review, probably possibly quarterly if that review goes bad, because that review will then trigger why is there only, why was there nobody came for the 15 leadership? Why? What went wrong? What do you have to do differently? This council has a history of, like Jack, and although we could trust Jack because of their history, etc., of saying, right, this is a great thing to do. Here's some money, go off and do it. Next end of the fiscal year, oh, you want some more? Here's some more money. We can't operate like that anymore.
And I don't want to operate like that either, because I think we've ticked a box in the past to some extent, and we didn't pay enough close attention to it, and that was part of the criticism we got from other council members at the time, and I totally understand that. I'll take that back to Leisure Services, and we will look to provide a more concise report on it. That's fine.
Sorry, Alison first.
Sorry, I wanted to go back to your proposal where you were talking about reducing some of the grants to enable this. I don't have a problem with that, but I feel we should reduce the grant pot, but leave it for the appropriate committee to decide on the level of each grant rather than specifically pointing to some of.
Have we got time to do that?
We don't need to. Do we need to do that tonight?
In terms of
No, I
budget,
mean-
in terms of budget, if you're just agreeing the amounts, you can do
Because-
that. And then
Okay.
you can
Normally,
divide it.
it's like we've got this much money, we've got these applications, and we decide. That committee decides, which I think is appropriate, rather than
So the first
suggesting a
question-
particular
There's
cap.
a pre-question
Yeah.
on that, is, are we saying the 40k is okay? Because if we are, that means we have to reduce the annual grant by 10k, which I'm comfortable with either way. And then it's up to the planning committee, we've got the chair here. No, I'm not the chair here, sorry. The planning committee then to work out that.
So just clarify to me, the annual grant and the other one, so the annual grants are the big boys, are they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that includes also the Woodley Carnival now.
Well, you don't need to pay them. If we need to save money, we need to save money.
Is it helpful if I give you a summary of what those annual grants are? If I tell you what they are.
Just before we do that, the reason why Woodley Carnival's now in there, the auditor said
Yeah, we need to keep some.
it needs to be put, something was reviewed.
You're quite right.
Sorry, no.
No, that's fine. So the grants that were considered by planning was Arc Youth Counselling at 2,000, CAB at 5, First Aid Children's Charity 5, Keep Mobile 3,000, Link Visiting 2.5, Parenting Special Children 1,000, Ready Bus 9,000, Working Volunteer Centre 1,000, Woodley Carnival Committee 3,000, and Woodley Lunch Bunch 1,000. Just going back slightly to the suggestion you made earlier, which was if you were looking to recoup the 3,000 by adding 10% as opposed to the 40, and the suggestion that you made previously was to reduce Keep Mobile and Ready Bus by £1,000, and then £125 off each of the others, which would get you 3,000 and get that budget down to 29,500. But
And that's, so when you say annual, they put in a bid and we decide whether we give them anything.
Yes.
But some of those wouldn't be able to function without that, or are we a drop in the ocean of all the total funding they get?
there's probably a different
mix.
levels of impact across
And
those
the other
organisations.
lots of grants that we give are the smaller,
The smaller.
and how much is that in total?
I'm sure the entire grant pot, it's not a lot.
That's 1,500-ish.
It's hundreds across those individual organisations. So it's a question of how much you're.
So it's the Bude Music to keep the 40, take it off the annual grant. I'm looking around. I will come to you, Jim, but the committee has to do their deliberation. Is that?
I think if we're going to give this a go, I mean, whilst I am dubious about some of these, I am prepared to trust that the committee that we entrust with this has had a sensible conversation. They know what they're doing. They're going to get us some decent KPIs, and it'll either work or it won't work. But I feel like we probably need to invest to give it a go. And I would be happy to reduce those grants to do that. But that's only my opinion.
I mean, let's remember the grants against the applications have been reduced dramatically by about 60% already.
Sorry, what do you mean?
The grants that we've allocated to bring it down to the figure that shows here have already been reduced by up to 60%.
Have they?
So the grant pots that were requested was 56,600, and planning and community reduced that down to that
So
30.
we had already reduced them greatly. Now, having said that,
We've reduced the pot, we haven't reduced their grants, we've reduced the total amount that they can apply for.
well, they've applied for 10,000, say.
Yeah.
And we've offered them 5
We've
or
offered anything yet, I hope.
3.
No, but the recommendation from planning community, they considered each grant application in turn and allocated
But then
a
just-
specific
Then we've
amount.
got two groups at odds with each other.
Yeah,
So-
but there are 1 or 2 alterations that I can think of that could be made to those grants. But if we want it done for this budget, the next meeting planning is next week. And
So we
it
need to make that
would need to be-
decision. And just to point out, the decision we potentially would be making is to reduce the total pot. How the planning and community committee want to distribute that,
Up to them.
as opposed to
Up to
just
them.
take off the top
Yes.
or no for that one, because they want, etc.
Yeah.
And just a comment on Woodley Carnival, we do get a lot of good publicity out
I
of
know we
that.
do, but it's 1 year, we're talking about 1 year here, and we know they've got reserves.
Well, that's down to the planning committee, so you've heard, David, you've heard it from
You know,
someone.
and I'm on the committee, so, you know.
Someone on the,
Yeah.
so,
I've got to admit, my own feeling is akin to yours, Keith, insofar as the carnival is the one item a year where the whole community benefits.
Okay.
but the planning committee.
But if we, I think that's the right decision. I think we make the decision what the pot is, and then we task that group with going and sort it out.
Right, so on this specific, we will do, I shall make a recommendation that 1, the 40K for the youth services.
Yeah.
But I'm going to ask that every S&R meeting, we have a full report update to the S&R, to this committee, so that it's not that we don't trust you or anything like that, but I think because of the delicate position, we need to know that it's going in the right direction.
Yeah.
So
How often does S&R meet every year?
every quarter.
What would happen, S&R always falls in after leisure services, so that would come to leisure services,
So-
that information.
So
is
we
in there.
could prepare a report for leisure services
Well,
and
the officers
present.
can do it.
Yeah, I know that, but we need to have some input
Could
into
I
that.
make
So-
one amendment to that, Mr. Chair, insofar as they have situations been going on for 6 months, so it's the right time to do a report on that for the first 6 months of its operation. The youth club has only been going 2.5 months since the beginning of November.
The next
And
S&R
I-
meeting
and
is
I-
3 months away.
I
so-
think,
Yeah, I think we've
I
got time
think 6
to,
months
yeah.
is the sort of basis we should work on, so that they got time to embed themselves and become
Well,
established.
Sorry, but the report can say precisely that.
Yes, it can.
The fact is that the reason we've gone with this way is that it's flexible. So if it's not working, we can stop it.
We can,
And we
yes.
have the funds there. You know, we don't have to carry on. That's why it was looked at this way, because it is flexible. We need to get something
So-
going, but
Coming
it's-
back to my proposal, because that, again, that can be in the report. Because at the end-
That first one, that first report in May is about, this is how we intend to do this.
It's our lead to strategy.
Yeah.
So this is how this is our strategy, and this is how we're linking it to that. and then we could report on that success. But I think that first report, as you say, is going to be just that one pager, which is how we link in our strategy.
This is the
And
plan.
yeah, this is the
This is how we're
plan.
going to report to.
Yeah,
But it is
yeah.
Let's not design that report here. I am trying
not for
to
this,
move us
not
forward.
for this committee.
You know, that's a good idea to think about what you want to hear in it. Now, we're sort of kind of going around in circles a little bit. I was a bit sort of horrified to hear you say earlier, Keith, why are we doing this? I thought, well,
It is.
Leisure have written us a very comprehensive strategy explaining. I think where we've got where we've got the gap is between everything we do once we've got a strategy is reference back to the strategy. So the strategy might have.
Jim, is there a question there?
Well,
Please.
Yes.
No, that we've got a lot to do here,
Yes.
and, you know, you've got your representative here. If you've got a
No,
question.
No, we're not running this on party political lines, as you know. So, you know, that is kind of irrelevant. You know, who's.
So do you have a question?
Let me just have a look. I had a comment, but if you don't want comments, that's fine.
Well, we've got a lot to do.
No,
um,
fine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so the two items I was going to propose. One is that we get the 40K, all right, and we get a report.
Yeah.
Every SNR meeting
Yeah.
of
Yes.
how things are going, you know, and it can be as simple as you said, the first one will be, we're just going, detailing. The number of questions here from all of us about what's HAF, what's this, tells you we're not informed.
You're not informed.
This is probably our fault.
To be honest with you, the strategic document was
let me get
exhaustive,
to the
so,
Yeah, it is.
Let me get to the second point.
yeah.
Of the proposal is that the annual grant is reduced by the 10,000 and it's referred back to the planning committee to discuss how they will distribute that.
Yeah.
Okay?
Good with that.
With the caveat that we need to be clear to the public and to those people that this is a temporary, potentially a temporary arrangement.
Yes.
You know, we're being fiscally sensible, we're looking at our budgets, and this year, that's what we can do.
Yeah.
So all those in favour for those 2 points, please show. Thank you, that's unanimous.
Thank you.
Right, where are we?
Right.
There's only one other area I think we need to talk about, which is the toilets, which I think we can do briefly, unless there's something else in the budget papers specifically. The toilets has been raised, okay? The lid has been lifted on the toilets. Yes, and we're trying to make a clean bend of it. So
We're not
anyway,
flushing it down the toilet, man.
I have talked to Darren and Kevin about the principle because it does appear quite attractive. But the savings that you think you're going to make, according to the budget, you're not. Because any expenditure relating to staff, you're not going to be sacking staff. That expenditure will still be there, but they'll be doing something else. Okay? That brings the savings down dramatically. Was it?
It's about half, so about £5,000. Yeah.
Okay. I have come up with a suggestion, which I think is quite interesting, is a form of sponsorship. Why not?
So Elmo.
So if you think of where it's located, you come up Clockenwell Road and you've got right in front of you a big square wall. Sell that for advertising. You know, if we can get that, which 500,000 or whatever, it makes a contribution. A lot of people may say good because that gets rid of the horrible colours. You could also potentially do it on the other side. Obviously, you can't do it on the door side. You could do smaller on that side. And what I would propose on the toilet is to send the officer away to work up a report, look at the potential of advertising, local shop or whatever, restaurants maybe, or something to put on that side to help subsidise and then bring that back to this
And then
committee.
continue to charge.
Very good.
I did discuss about making it free. The trouble is, you'll still you're still going to have to lock it, otherwise it would get vandalised. And how do you unlock it, even though it's free? The 20p is, we might think about making it 30p, but it's not going to make a significant difference.
It's just the cash, it's people don't carry cash.
I know.
That's the problem.
Definitely.
Or coins,
Yeah.
people don't
Carry a
coins.
tenner.
We could look at the possibility of making it credit card.
Contactless.
Yes, I'm not entirely sure how the
I
mechanism
was going to
works.
suggest that if we are going to go down this, it comes back to leisure services for us to look at that advertising option. And could we also look at opportunities to add cashless vending to the machine, so you can swipe into it or use your phone, because that's what everyone does now. And as part of that dressing of the facing side to the road, I think one of the issues with that toilet is it looks unpleasant, and I think we could do a lot to improve it to make it a bit more of an attractive. I want to say venue to use, but that's probably the wrong way of saying it. But you know what I mean. Just to make it a little bit more of an interesting space. So I think that there might be a few things that we can draw out of that once we've had time to review it and speak to the partners.
Turn it into a micro bar.
All right, I think exploring advertising is an excellent idea. What I'd like to ask is, do we have a town council policy about the kind of advertising we accept? Because I have sat through this at Borough for a long time, because obviously at the Borough, we don't want to promote fast food, various other things. There's lots and lots of factors in that. So do we have is there a national policy that we have said we are aligned with?
No, there isn't. That's a good point.
Take anything.
That might be something for the,
Might be something we
for
might
the
just
PR
need
marketing.
to adopt the national policy rather than having an individual one. But I think we'd all agree there's certain things we wouldn't want to see advertised. And the only other point I'd make is that when drivers are approaching, a great big advert could be considered distracting. Would we need planning permission to have advertising on the end of that building?
It's something to consider, but it comes back to leisure services.
Well, I think we need to have understand the principles first, whether it's worthwhile. That will spawn the advertising, it will spawn doing planning permission, etc. Let's not worry about that now, because if it's not viable, then we're wasting time thinking about the things that would block it anyway. So let's get there. And it is, and I apologise, Darren, it is leisure services.
It is, yeah.
For you guys to come back.
It is for us to come back and give you a good feasibility and recommendation. We haven't had a chance to do that yet.
And there's a good incentive, because any money we get and save could potentially be there for the youth services data.
Yeah, that's true. That was our intent when we had our last meeting. So yeah.
Right.
Can I say, please don't make it all card. A lot of the older people who use those toilets will not have cards and won't be able to do it. You find them in the.
It'll be both. It'll be both. Yeah.
The one thing I would say about having card access to that is you'll need to up the price of using the toilet, because otherwise we'll be paying more in credit card fees to collect 20p.
That'll be part of that
That'll be part of that feasibility, David.
And
Bearing
also,
in mind that we're going to be
if you
using
think
that
about it,
service across the
if they've got a
council.
card out, they're old, they're trying to get, someone could snatch their card off and take it.
No, there'll be
Things like that.
cash as well. It's just.
It is
lots of
essential,
people don't
because lots
use
of
cash.
people use cash still.
Right. Sorry, Alison. Go.
I do think it would be good, and I'm not sure the right forum to do it, but to get the feedback of people of Woodley, when they learn that it takes, £150 a year and costs £10,000 to run. I mean, some people might suggest that it really should be closed and save the money. And we might have people saying, I would use it if I could, if it was cardless. I don't really want to spend money on a formal survey going out, etc. But I think it would be really useful to get a lot more feedback. I mean, I've never used it.
I've never used it.
I've never used it.
I know Mr. Hoskins has.
Hello, Robert. Let's listen to Robert.
He sparked into life.
But I think we need knowing a lot more about advertising is good, but also just more information.
Yeah.
Possibly for next year's budget decision. I'm not saying use it or lose it, but
I think we'll take it under advisement of leisure services. I'm thinking in my mind off the cuff that we might have a QR code with something stuck on the door saying, scan this, 5 questions, job done. But then I'm relying on our executive, our team to do that for us. So leave it with us. We'll come back. But thank you for the suggestion.
So I've just asked the question of Kevin, he's scratching his head.
Sorry.
When the next Herald is going out. Because that would be an ideal vehicle.
We do it in there. Yeah, you pop it in there as well. Yeah.
I wouldn't rely solely on QR codes.
No, but I'm thinking.
I don't have a problem just walking in. I've got I use Costa. You see, I've got a car. I don't feel embarrassed. I don't normally buy mine.
One meeting, please. Please, one meeting.
Sorry.
Please, one meeting. We could get the shops as well involved. Not with a petition or like that.
No, but they will, I was here obviously when the toilets were discussed in the first place, which was health. And the shops who agreed first of all, it was a good idea and they would let their toilets be used. They all said in the end, no, people are so dirty in a lot of cases. They walk in, they leave a mess. Their staff aren't toilet cleaners, they're there to serve the customers. And they would not allow people to go in there unless they used, you know.
Coffee one all the time. Left behind.
Anyway, we digress, please. We digress. I'm going to bring to order. Darren, not members of this committee, please. We've got 2 recommendations on page 93. Can I take them together? All those in favour, please show. Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you. Where are we? So we've done the AB.
Budget and precept.
Page 95. I think we've sort of flogged this to death, really, haven't we? And the precept is required to.
Quite a bit. The budgets and the separate report is about the precept consideration and the decision on that. So just as an overview, obviously the meeting on the 16th of December discussed a number of options and it targeted that precept increase of 9.75%, which is what this budget has been based on and what we were tasked with finding. Just to note, those forecast budgets would look at an amount to be funded by precept or reserves of just over 1.3 million there, and with 103,592 coming from the general reserve, which would be set a precept amount at 1,289,733, which is the basis upon which that budget's been put together. That targeted a general reserve level around 543, just over in next year. Which is slightly below the target, but broadly aligned with where we were looking at for budgeting next year. And just to note that that is in line with what was discussed at that meeting, and it is likely that to be considered through the strategy working group and obviously by this committee as we work through the year. It's likely that a similar level of increase might be required next year going forwards. Obviously, we don't know that yet. We don't know the outturn for this year yet either. So that'll be considered through the year.
So do we have any questions? My only comment is, and I'm not, I suppose the best I can say, I'm not overly comfortable, is that we've got this 80,000 from the VAT refund that's going into a slush fund, an EMR, and I'm not comfortable with this is my personal view, right? EMRs that haven't got a definite purpose. You know, it's the reserve that doesn't have a definite purpose is the general reserve. It says the general, okay? And that in essence is the slush fund. So if there are, I know there are specific projects that officers would like to use that money for. But that has to come through here. And personally, what I'd like to see is that 537 or 543, whatever it is, 543, has the that reserve put in it with a caveat that we will be drawing it down for potential projects. I think that's in a much more controlled way. It's a more democratic way as well. I'm not suggesting you're going to go off on holidays with it. I don't know what the group is.
Can I just make a comment on that? One of the, although it's not something that was specified by HMRC at the time, but the resolution that this council made in relation to those funds were, because they were in relation to VAT on charges for Woodford Park Leisure Centre, was that money would be ring-fenced for Woodford Park Leisure Centre. So that decision could be changed, but one thing I would say is, we very recently had a survey done of the drainage up there, which has come back saying, you've got pipe work which is way beyond its lifespan. We've repaired it. The recommendation was you need to start building a fund because you're going to have significant cost in replacing the drainage from that centre, which is absolutely essential in keeping it open, and that's likely to be a significant amount of money. And the other project, which had already started, we have a subcommittee set up for, and that work has stalled slightly because of other things and priority, is the redevelopment of Woodford Park Leisure Centre, which again, in terms of our biggest income generator, it is going to require investment over the next few years.
But come on, let's be real about this. The budget for the pipework repair, fine. We should put an earmarked reserve, right? A named earmarked reserve with a specific value in, and with a view in the future, like all the other earmarked reserves, topping it up. That's what we've done with the others. There shouldn't be an exception. In terms of the Woodford Park redevelopment, 70, we'll take off, say 30,000 for the pub work. 40,000 ain't going to go anywhere near. It's going to be in the millions.
Can I just say that the pipe work was likely to be hundreds of thousands, possibly. Could I just make a suggestion, Chair? If I don't know if this is entirely appropriate. The Buildings and Facilities Fund EMR for Woodford Park Leisure Centre, which is currently running relatively low, it would possibly make sense for that earmarked reserve to be amalgamated with that for Woodford Park Leisure Centre, which keeps it together.
For me, that's fine. It's specific.
Keeps it simpler and it's specific to the task with that.
Got broad agreement?
Yes.
Okay. All those in favour of that, please show.
Okay.
There we go, unanimous. Thank you.
No, that's right.
And so the press, we've already got a lot of bad press, by the way, on the precept increase.
So you need to take a vote on precepts.
Oh, sorry, yes, thank you. On page 97, 3 bullets. All those in favour, please show.
Thank you, Chair. That's all.
Right. '98, Alan Cornish Theatre refurbishment. This is actually quite interesting.
Thank you. I'll try and condense this again. There's a lot of information and there's a lot of background there. Essentially, through Blue Horizon Adventures and work we've done outside of that, we've explored different models for operating the theatre going forward. Those being the status quo, i.e. no staffing changes, just doing it in-house, leaving things as they are, with some improved marketing. An in-house model which would include additional council staff in order to pick up that theatre programme, and a third one which would be a partnership model whereby we would outsource that piece of work in order to deliver a programme of events.
So can I just say,
Yeah.
I think you've missed the model. I think there was a model for volunteering.
Yes.
Can I just, the partnership model includes quite a high level of volunteering
I did
in order
read
to run
that,
the
so
front
I
of
have read
house.
it.
So that is very much part of
Okay,
that.
that's not evident in the
Is there a fourth option, a company limited by guarantee
Yeah, set up as a separate
as a
entity.
separate entity? That
that's-
would be a
Community
charity that
interest
would
company.
be able to tap into grants
Six.
and reduce council tax on the building, etc.
That's
It's a
certainly a
very good
possibility.
model.
That's not something that had come up through the recommendations through Blue Horizon, who would engage to do that piece of work. That said, we can still feed that in. I think the long and short of what you're being asked to consider here is that we think there's mileage in the partnership model, and in order to explore that, there'd be no decisions, nothing would happen, but we're after authorization to move forward in the development of a service level agreement to see what that would look like with a partner. We can explore other options as well if the committee wants us to do that as part of that work also. And the other piece of work that would happen in tandem with that is a refinement of what the capital cost is likely to be for the theatre upgrade of equipment, and further exploration of where funding might be available in order to do that. That would all come back to this committee for consideration.
I just want to make members aware that the partnership model that's being proposed here is the Kenton Theatre in Henley-on-Thames. And members may not be aware that the Kenton was very close to liquidisation. It had deficit of £200,000 3 years ago, and but for Henley Town Council, who gave a grant of £100,000, actually a loan of £100,000, and a grant of £20,000 to help small community groups hire the venue, that the Kenton would have gone under. And I'm just worried that we're going down a route with the Kenton Theatre. Okay, they're now in slight surplus. If you read the Henley Standard article, which came out very recently, they were in surplus, I think last year, about 5,000. But they've got a big management team. They do operate with volunteers, as Julian said.
All I would say in terms of the way we were looking at it is it's low risk for the council, and in the event that essentially it's selling the space and then letting somebody else hire it, who's got the skills and marketing and background in order to
you talk about marketing. Have we canvassed our residents to find out what it is they want in the?
Yes, we have. Yeah, we carried out a survey last year, and that was reported through and was part of that study. Yeah.
Yes, that's right. Sorry, you remember. I forgot that. Yes, that's right. Because I think the simplest, the theatre, now the showcase is closed, that venue is crying out for a Saturday morning kiddies cinema, isn't it?
And
straight away.
Of our youth strategy going forward.
The report does include that, and that would be part of what we would be looking to do. So in addition to if we did end up, and it would be for this committee to decide that at a later date whether we did go into a partnership agreement. That's not the entirety of that operation. We're still looking at community theatre. Our community groups would be protected in terms of still being able to book. We would still be looking at cinema opportunities and other things that the council might want to do. So it doesn't stop us doing anything. It was more a case of us being able to get kind of guaranteed bookings through someone who's geared up to do it.
Have we got so what you're asking for is the opportunity to go and work at a tender?
Just work at that document, see what it would look like, and bring that back here for consideration. And in the meantime, we would have been able to reassess what the capital outlay might be and where we could get.
Now, this company that's written this report, would they be interested in that?
In the producing the document?
No, in running it?
No.
Right. Okay.
No.
Because the whole thing feels very biased towards that. And I just wondered who'd written it with that sort of sense.
So it came out of the fact, and that's not the way we were looking, but the model that came back through Blue Horizon about us running it in-house was so sort of front-loaded in terms of expense and staffing costs. And as we know, staffing costs for all sorts of reasons, from council employing people directly, can be quite prohibitive in terms of making something viable. And
in having had those conversations, and Matthew had some conversations, not just with the Kenton, with other theatres in the area about whether there'd be any potential for them to do that using their expertise and the things they already have in place, rather than us trying to reinvent it. So,
I mean, I'd be happy for you to work up something and then for us to look at what the potential of that is. But I just think I would be loath to let go of that.
Yeah.
Can I have a point of clarification? The technical upgrades.
Yeah, we've got to do that before we do anything, otherwise.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. The point is doing it because the equipment is just so out of date. And you know, you're tying both hands behind your back trying to get people to come in. The cinema thing is a must. Absolutely. The comedy show works. The comedy works quite well.
Yeah, but that's like nothing, is it? You don't need a stage, the
I
lights aren't
know
that important.
So when is the tech? Because I think it is, you've got to do that first.
Yes.
We won't stand a cat's chance of hell and improving the theatre. We still don't know what the theatre income is. So maybe that's something that we need fairly quickly for this committee.
And we're working on that now, so that would come back to our next SNR meeting with that.
But I mean, if you look at Reading Rep, it's very similar size, it's got very similar setup. I'm sure the dressing rooms are better and the lighting looks better, but actually fundamentally it's about the same size, about the same number of seats. You know, they've got a good model that works. I think it's probably worth looking around at models to see what they do and how they do it. Before, so to inform and I'm sure the Blue, whatever it is, have done that, but I can't see that in the document.
Okay, they have as part of that, and then did quite a lot of consultation with our own hirers and users and
sure.
residents.
You know, it's a long report, it's very thorough.
Yeah, and as I said, what we took from that was trying to do that in-house would be really challenging for us and expensive.
And it's high risk.
And it's
high risk financially.
Yeah, it is, but equally it's high gain, isn't it, if we get it right?
Yeah.
Whereas it's not if we just hire it out and let somebody else.
This year is not.
Yeah, it might not be the interim, but we haven't done the repairs and the fixes yet, so we're not talking this year, are we
And
really?
Reading Rep benefits, they own the building and they only do a theatre. Our theatre is buried in here. You need to do much more outside advertising of what it's here.
All of the above, but if we're going to put it
And Reading
together.
Rep has free car parking at the college, whereas here people have to pay for the car park.
Right, so I'm confused now. Members note the contents of the report, right? What about item number, the second recommendation? Are we after the conversation?
Where is it?
Page
100.
100.
So that recommendation is worded that the council would authorise us to develop that SLA with the Kenton Theatre, but it come back to this committee prior to anything
But that's
happening with it.
not going out to tender. No.
We discussed with other groups whether that would be whether they would be interested in that, and they haven't been. So we can still do that. It was the opportunity to engage with somebody a little more.
In mind.
The Kenton were the only ones, for the ones we spoke to, who thought it would be viable and something they could do. Yeah.
I mean, I'd like to see a little bit more than an SLA, but I mean, I'm happy to look at something if you think they're interested.
So can I make a suggestion that we decouple the technical upgrades, make that the second bullet? That gives us the opportunity to maybe the residual of that second bullet, we can bounce back for another meeting, bear in mind the comments.
Yeah.
But I'm very keen to get that technical upgrade.
Yeah, we are working on that, and that will come back to the next meeting anyway.
Right, so my proposal is recommended 1, fine. A new recommendation is the development of required technical upgrades report. So we can get that underway. And then the third bullet, do we need to just drop it?
No, I think we need to work something out, but
Okay. Do you want to, I'll tell you what,
if we say no.
on that third bullet, can you work something up and then circulate us So we can approve the bullets 1 and 2, the new 2, today, and then we can approve by email, if that's okay?
You would need to approve it formally.
Formally, but we could give you by email.
I think you could leave the resolution loose enough. You're not committing to doing anything other than setting us off on a piece of work.
But I think you need to take up the Kenton Act. For the specific, that specifically is targeting it down to the Kenton. You with me?
Yeah.
He can't really do an SLA if he doesn't do it with
It's
a
been,
partner.
yeah, and that's been what's been a bit chicken and egg about it, which is why we did approach other partners. And
Isn't it finalised details of the partnership model?
I think our partnership model would be good, yeah. So presumably you've tried places like the Mill, have you?
Yeah, and I know,
Yeah, they're all other.
Southwood Park and Northern Farm, and etc.
Yeah. I mean, I've no objection if you work with an SLA, because whether it's with the Kenton or somebody else, it's an SLA, isn't it?
Yeah.
Then we can look at it and pick the bones of it a bit. And if they are the only ones interested, and that is the only way that we're going to be able to afford to do it, we don't want to lose them.
No.
There's a fine line to be drawn between.
From a marketing perspective, we're never going to have the capacity, the capability, the skill set to market. You know, my ideal model is South Street.
Mine too.
You know, they know how to market. There's a magazine that comes out by electronic. It tells you exactly what's coming. It's superb, and it's the smaller theatre.
That might be the ambition,
Yeah.
mightn't it? You know, let's just get us into a position where we've got a decent working theatre. Yeah. Then we can.
That would be good.
Right, June.
Just quickly, the learning from what we talked about earlier with youth. We need to be able to link what we're doing in the theatre back to an agreed policy so that we can, and that's where we'll get our SLAs and so forth, because it's not just, I'm assuming that you guys aren't just interested in running a commercial operation as a theatre, but that we have certainly social
community cohesion stuff.
everything. So it would be quite, I think
it gets a
important
mention in
to have
strategy.
that
It does, yeah.
in
Because that was-
place.
10 minutes left, guys. The last two agenda items are ones that we tend to just skip over. So,
Can I just check that you're happy with that resolution as is, with the additional report on the technical?
so let's do 1 and 2 first. Technical upgrade. All those in favour, please show. That's the noting the report. Okay. I'm just waiting for Juliet.
Yeah.
I'm just doing 1 and 2.
Yeah, you see, you're splitting up the technical upgrades, one
Yeah.
for 1 and 2, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, okay, right. So we're in. Leaving Kenton in there?
I don't think you need to, I think,
That's right.
I think you just take that out, because based on the partnership model set out in this report, and a formal SLA drafted, brought to Strategy and Resources Committee, you can absolutely talk to the Kenton, but we just don't need to minutes there.
Right, so
Okay.
we're done on that one.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Item 15, any future agenda items? Nope. Publicity-
Well, we agreed to bring back the youth
Yes, yeah.
update.
Other than what we already discussed and been mentioned. Publicity website, anything?
No, but I think we'll probably bring a publicity report back to the next meeting, won't we?
Yes, there will be,
Yeah.
from the
From the meeting.
PR marketing subcommittee we met yesterday.
Right, I call a close at
9:50.
9:53. Thank you.